fog, old gods he slayed. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, king of the game. I believe in you, that's what he'll say. Nice and kind, bleeding cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Seeing through the fog, old gods he slayed. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, king of the game. I believe in you, that's what he'll say. Nice and kind, bleeding cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Seeing through the fog, old gods he slayed. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, king of the game. I believe in you, that's what he'll say. Nice and kind, bleeding cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Seeing through the fog, old gods he slayed. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, king of the game. I believe in you, that's what he'll say. Nice and kind, bleeding cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Seeing through the fog, old gods he slayed. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, king of the game. I believe in you, that's what he'll say. Nice and kind, bleeding cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Seeing through the fog, old gods he slayed. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, king of the game. I believe in you, that's what he'll say. Nice and kind, bleeding cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Seeing through the fog, old gods he slayed. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, king of the game. I believe in you, that's what he'll say. Nice and kind, bleeding cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Seeing through the fog, old gods he slayed. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, game. I believe in you, that's what he'll say. Nice and kind, bleeding cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Seeing through the fog, old gods he slayed. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, king of the game. I believe in you, that's what he'll say. Nice and kind, bleeding cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Seeing through the fog, old gods he slayed. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, king of the game. I believe in you, that's what he'll say. Nice and kind, leading cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Sing through the fog, old Godsey.
Alright. I'm late. I got called away at the last second to let someone in. How is everyone doing? Hello, hello. I wish to learn how one knows at a glance what Shiyou is good on what map. To answer my question, not very well. Still scared? Gotcha, gotcha. Usually you're going to determine that what Shiyou to play based on the terrain of the map. Or how many bases there are. So if there's like a lot of heavy terrain, you might be like, oh, maybe Lash. Usually there's a lot of plains, so you're like, oh, Jake is obviously going to have an advantage here. What birds do I own that I didn't show in the shorts? You shouldn't have. There's no more birds around me right now. They're in other rooms now. I think I've shown all the birds. I do not have, I'm not gaining birds. A lot of knowing what CO is going to be good to play, it just comes from experience. So as you're just kind of gaining that experience, you can always look at the map analysis data on the map and see which CO of that tier is most played and just go with that. Wesker. I'm sorry, Liquor. I'm going to hide your username. I'm so sorry. It goes against my G-rated nature. But it is true that D just has a video series on it. That's pretty good. Map analysis, yeah. It takes a lot of work. Children that play too. Oh, hey, Rib. Is the stream dying? It says it disconnected a second ago. If it keeps disconnecting, I will restart the internet. Like disconnected, reconnected. Literally a second ago. It's happening to you as well. It keeps happening. Do a restart. Welcome, Rip, to the infantry. So this was sent in actually through a message on Advanced Wars by Web, the website, which I rarely accept, but you know, I made an exception. Somehow the game wasn't expired by the time I got to it. And we have a Hawke player versus Sasha, a classic matchup. As I've said many times, this usually comes down to how well does Sasha manage the charge of both players, whether or not she can make sure Hawke never gets a power, either never gets a power off, or only gets a power off when it doesn't super matter. And Hawke has, of course, his day-to-day he can always rely on to try and get an advantage. And if he ever manages to sneak out a normal power, he can almost instantly win. Oh, something we can go to at the start here. So player 1 has, this is one of the maps where player 1 can choose either base to send the infantry back to get this neutral base from, which means that player 1 gets to choose which front they're going to end up being ahead on. Basically, if this infantry goes back here to go for the base, then player 1 will be a turn ahead on this front, and player 2 would be a turn ahead over here. And conversely, if this one is the one that goes backwards, then this is the front that player 1 is going to be ahead on. So that's a nice little privilege that player 1 gets there, because it takes, unless you're Sturm, it's going to take 3 turns to get to this airport either way, but yeah, I guess it's fine. Unless this isn't going for the airport, maybe it's trying to walk to here and then do 3 to here, like a really far forward jaunt. Otherwise, you go this way, and then you have like an option. Maybe you want to go for the city first and then the airport. Doesn't super matter. This is fine. It just irks me because you waste a whole movement point. But this is definitely the most direct route, straightforward. I mean, I don't know. Would APC opener be good here? Yeah, you could do an APC opener because it's a really big map. It looks like we're going to go for a really quick recon for Hawke, and Sasha's going for these back captures pretty quickly. Usually back captures can be the kind of thing that can lend itself well into an APC, because you'll have infantry ready to hop into the APC the turn after it's built without hurting your own economy. Wesker went for a tank opener. Fierce Buster went for a recon opener. Both seem very reasonable. I would prefer going for more transport openers. The recon might get something done here, but it's not like a Sturm recon, so it's going to be much slower in getting to the front lines. And it's kind of expected that by the time a recon makes it over there on this size of map, there'll be a tank ready. It looks like both players are going to go with a transport copter, and Albert Wesker is actually going to buy a recon here early on. I would not recommend building such an early recon from this base, because most of the in this case, I guess it does give you some information about the fact that they built a transport copter. You could probably send harassment up there, but the tank was going to go over there anyway. But the reason I wouldn't be too thrilled about building a recon at this stage in the game is 4K is a lot to take out of an early game economy, just period. And the amount of information you're actually going to get from this recon is kind of all stuff you would already know. You're not going to be seeing when the tech up, like the tech ups might catch when the tech ups happen, but that's not going to be happening right now. So you might be like, oh, they built a tank. Oh, they have infantry walking through here. All stuff I could probably have just deduced by understanding the early game build orders of the map. So the recon's kind of not providing much information due to the limitations of the early game and the amount of economy that people have. There's only so many things they could be doing, and most of the things you would be guessing correctly whether or not you had the recon here or not. The fighting isn't going to be happening over here yet. There's no real threat of the middle being in combat, so you don't need the vision for that yet. I guess the one thing that you might want it for is to judge whether or not you need to build an anti-air, but because this map is really big, it doesn't actually matter whether or not they have a copter yet as to when you should build an anti-air, because you should build the anti-air anyway. Because if the fighting starts going on over here, which it's going to do shortly with this tank, it doesn't. You don't want to be building your anti-air in response to the copter being built, because the copter will get here in 1 turn, and your anti-air is going to get there like 3 or 4 turns. So you need the anti-air before they build the copter anyway. And it's harder to do that because 4,000 has been spent on the recon. If that all made sense. Apparently, pipe runners have been banned on this map. Yeah, a pipe runner would be viable here, but you can't build them. I'm fine with the recon being built here. I'm just not fine with the recon being built here so early. You can also do late game missiles. We did see some games where they were spamming lots of missiles. This recon got a nice harassment here. Kind of thwarted the transport copter for a bit. Which is good to see, and it's definitely worth it to build this artillery now, because at this point we're starting to get into the amount of money where what you build can be wildly variable, and the recon picking up on those builds will give a lot of information for the opponent. So it's starting to get into the turns where a recon is going to be dangerous in the amount of information it provides. So you might as well kill it now before you hit like 16k and the like, or especially 18k, where you'll be able to easily do stuff like go medium tank infantry, or you could go like copter tank infantry, or infantry, yeah, copter tank infantry, or double tank or triple artillery, you know, whatever. Lots of little options that you wouldn't want to be providing your opponent the information on, so they build counter units. Okay, so far this tank has been really hesitant, which at this stage is kind of understandable because of the copter that is known about. You can see, even without a recon being built, Naberius Buster is doing totally fine job at responding to the copter, basically at the same rate as if the recon was here. I still would have liked to have had this anti-air earlier. It's definitely better safe than sorry with anti-airs. Going on in. That's a little gutsy to attack with this recon. After you attack once, you've got to expect that your opponent's going to have some sort of unit around to deal with your recon. It isn't the end of the world to lose it after doing a little interrupt like this. But it is negative. Essentially negative value-wise. This is only going to interrupt this capture for 1 turn. You knock it down to 5. So it'll take 1 more. Like the 10 will get half the 5, and then it'll complete after this recon gets killed off, and then you lose all of your vision on this front. So that vision's worth a lot more than 1 turn of delay on a property. Wesker gets a nice interrupt over here. And something that's looking very good for Wesker is, while Naberius Buster is kind of ahead in the captures on this front in comparison to where Wesker is over here, this kind of swarm of units will just take these cities away. So it doesn't really matter that much that Buster's getting these early, because they won't be holdable. Well, over here, both players kind of have a nice glob of units. So it's kind of, this would, with Wesker seeing how sparse this area is, and how sparse so far from Wesker's vision this area is, Wesker should probably be deducing that there's a lot of vehicles somewhere else. Currently, Let's see, I think this tank, this anti-air, and this artillery. So maybe that all checks out for Wesker there. Maybe the recon was providing just enough information. And we have a nice little group of infantry from Buster. I'm gonna just take this property. We'll see how comfortable Wesker feels about interrupting this. I imagine not very comfortable because a tank was shown to go into this forest. It probably moved out, but it wasn't revealed where it moved. If there wasn't a tank shown by this recon, then I think the anti-air would definitely come down here and interrupt this. It might still, because you can go anti-air, infantry strike, tank from the city strike, and that's pretty good. Okay, it looks like Wesker's just going to let the city go. Oof, that sucks. The recon can finish this off, and it probably should. Okay. Yeah, I would much prefer clearing this guy off and starting the capture. It's not super bad, though. This infantry probably would have sacrificed itself to interrupt the capture anyway. Okay. This is kind of a classic maneuver, what you like to do. Clear the city, then put something on the city so it's hard for your opponent to strike from the city in a counter. And Wesker's going to feel fairly comfortable with this, knowing that there's got to be something invested in defending this capture in the middle. I don't know how well they're going about, or when they're going to be going about updating the spectator view. You clear the way, pop. But it's been a long-term issue, so I wouldn't get my hopes up for anything soon. They've got a lot of stuff they want to update first. Okay, Neotank's definitely a reasonable buy, especially in fog. They're nice and speedy, and they one-shot tanks. There wasn't the infantry that could start the capture here this turn, unless this infantry wanted to, which is always an option. You can stop this capture to start this capture and capture both of these cities at the same time. It doesn't super matter. It would just get both of them done at a quicker pace. But money-wise, it would be pretty equal. Is there a way to kill this infantry off? I guess not. There's no... So something that could have been done here, and would be a little bit spicy, but you can try and just ignore this tank and use your copter to finish off the anti-air. It would definitely be a little too spicy. Or maybe not a little too spicy, a little spicy. The only reason you want to do it is because you're not killing this tank and it heals up to 6, and that's probably enough for the infantry to take out your 4 health tank anyway. So instead, I guess you didn't take the infantry hit. So instead you'd kill off the anti-air because you're fighting Hawke. And plus you want to kill off anti-airs, not let them go in repair anyway. I'm saying you're fighting Hawke because Hawke has powers that heal. It's kind of like fighting Andy, but not as important. Okay. We got beat up over here. Should probably just retreat. If you want, you can try and trade out infantry if you're feeling confident in those numbers. I wouldn't be feeling confident in those numbers because there hasn't really been that many infantry revealed over here. So I would expect my opponent to have quite a few on this front. And ideally, you only want to trade out your infantry if you have a lot of properties captured, so you want to reduce the infantry numbers, or if you have more infantry, so that when you're trading out, you're just left with a massive majority. Back in here, I would definitely be feeling confident about this as Hawke. I think there's a slight mistake here. Yeah. It's not a huge deal, though. Hawke could have changed the order of these infantry attacks so that there's an infantry that's standing here. This infantry and this infantry would swap positions. So this one, instead of walking to here, would walk to here, and this would be the one to attack from this tile. And then the copter is completely surrounded by infantry. And the anti-airs would be setting themselves up to kill it. In this situation, the copter can actually get away. Which is, of course, not nearly as ideal. It still would be possible for the copter to get away if there was a full surround, but it would require 2 units to dedicate themselves to clear off an infantry, so you get a positive trade. As is, Albert Wesker can just kind of run away, just like in the video games. Albert Wesker is not going to run away, though. Fight to the bitter end. Running out of... Just get out of range of the anti-air, but... Oh, and the copter, wow. Look at that. The Neo tank is not known about. And now you can see that the recon in the later stages of the game does provide a lot more information. You get to see tons of different vehicles getting produced. You get to see when the copters get made. And whenever you see a copter get made at this stage of the game, you can usually be pretty confident that there wasn't like a Neo tank made alongside that. Not always. Sometimes they're saving up money, especially a Sasha can save up money and go for some really big buys. Sasha would save up money in order to like wipe an entire power bar. Sometimes you'll go for just a turn when you build 3 infantry, and then you'd have like almost 50k in the bank to wipe the bar, and then you'd buy like copter, Neo tank infantry. Some really big buys. Looks like they're kind of accepting a fairly static environment here. Both players have 24 properties. Here's one neutral, so there must be another neutral somewhere. Ah, up here in this corner. Recon got bopped a little bit. Hawke does have another. We can see the artillery coming over to take this guy out. Cut off that vision. And at this stage of the game, also as a Sasha player, I would be way more willing to throw 4k to the gods in order to build a recon. Because 4k when you're making 26k a turn is barely anything. It's not like when you're making 14k a turn, where it's almost a third of your economy. So this is more when I'd be like, oh, I'll just build a recon. Okay. Wesker sees a ton of copters. It's a copter swarm. This is going to be a very, very sad Albert Wesker. Wow, that tank survived that one. Neo tank shows its ugly face. From the back. Unfortunately for Wesker, only one copter got hit by the anti-air, so the majority of the swarm can just kind of retreat and get away. And this should probably give the go-ahead for some action elsewhere on the map. If you see like Neo Tank, you know there's 2 anti-airs. Like, this is pretty big investments over here. So that's what we're going to see. Some attacks elsewhere. Unfortunately for Wesker, there isn't very many units built over here that can actually deal with just even a medium tank. Wow, look at the value on this recon. Oh my gosh. So what happened here is that Wesker bought the bomber before using the power, and so Hawke's got a decent chance of getting the normal power off. And also everything just got revealed to this recon. Yeah, as I was saying, a lot of this comes down to how well does Sasha manage the charge. And whenever you do your big buy before you use your market crash, so you no longer manage their charge anymore, you can just kind of lose the game. Next one, switch out with Psychic. Quack-a-tongue, quack-a-tug, quack to gun. Next we've got, oh, it's another one. Another one of these. Some with Grimm versus Lash. Whoa. It is the great Sasha error, using normal power right the first time and the wrong the second. You better not this map. What's wrong with this map? We've seen it a few times, so we should have an idea of what to expect. I'll make Djorca into Cobalt Ice. I have not played it. This was a tournament map, I do believe. Center squabble map. So we will again see whether or not people remove their black boats from their labs. I'm not sure what Grimm's advantage is on this map. I guess Grimm's going to have stronger air units than Lash. But there's a lot of terrain, and Lash will just kind of dominate Grimm on the terrain. Is it best to remove or keep it? Oh. Well, I think if you're going to remove it, you should probably remove it right away for the extra transports. But I imagine keeping it there is the safest way to go. Against Lash, I would definitely keep it on there. This is high funds. Yes. The mid is 100% winning. If you don't invest everything in the mid, you lose. I don't think that's quite true. I think if you lose the harbors, you lose. We'll see how this goes. Okay, Djorca's just gonna take one off. Had is going to take both off. And this is something I think I agree with Had in doing this, because as the Lash player, you've just got way better infantry for fighting. But something that's really bad here for Djorca is now this harbor is under threat. And exactly, oof, that hurts. Djorca just has to block it. And now things are looking absolutely awful for Djorca. Maybe... No, I guess it's fine. I was going to say maybe it would be better to just go for the lab right away. But I guess capturing here does give the constant threat of stopping this black boat from ever leaving this lab. Otherwise, the infantry just takes it. So at this stage, I think Had has basically won. I don't know what Djorca can do unless Had just blunders. Because this is, even if we ignore the fact that Had will be able to build a lander and just build like an artillery or something, or a battleship to clear this, this will be quite a lot of economic advantage. Looks like Had is not going to try and press a win in the center. It's just going to try and take the econ lead. And fight in the corners. Alright. Well, Djorca is going to have a nice vehicle tempo advantage on this front. Got tank copter. Makes Had's tank kind of sad here. It can't attack from the city. But then it kind of comes down to how do you even cover it, right? Because if you want to build an anti-air to deal with this copter, but the copter can just hit you from the river, and then they can just block your anti-air off. So we'll see how this goes. I guess they can't quite block the anti-air off because this tank has to move to kill off this tank. So I guess this is fine. If this infantry was a single tile closer, then it could step onto the city. But because it's not, the anti-air can get the kill on this copter. Although, I mean, another tank copter will be a big issue for sure. It's not like this front for Djorca is looking super hot. Oh, man. So yeah, we're going to try and just out-tempo this front and weather the storm on the other fronts. Looks to be Djorca's plan. This recon is super dead. Here comes the harbor capture. And this infantry is, again, in a perfect situation where if either of these guys leave, it just goes and captures the property they had been on. Had builds a medium tank. It does mean we're about to have some air dominance. Djorca the bottom here. And potentially if there's enough air dominance. That was very weird. I would have thought they'd go bop bop kill it. Anti-air off. 1, 2. Okay, so with the tank being here, the medium tank can't actually reach to strike. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unless, of course, Lash uses the power. It's probably not worth it. We'll just move here, kill this off, I guess. So Djorca's plan is to just go all in on this front. backs off. So Had should really, sorry, I wasn't talking there. Had should really just try and go and win the game. It puts so much pressure on Djorca, but I don't think this anti-air buy really works because this copter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, the copter can't make it to here. If the copter could make it to that spot, then I mean, it still can. It can't kill the infantry from that spot. We might see tank hit infantry, copter just moves here, and then tank hits anti-air. As long as Djorca can get Had to invest everything on this front rather than winning the game. Ooh, Djorca just backs off. I guess that's also fine. That has a little bit of an econ lead. We get a smack over here. Artillery's kind of shows up a little late to lock that comm tower, but it can shoot stuff afterwards. Got a lot of stuff built to defend this base. You don't have to like invest in a battleship. You can just build a lander to take out the lab. Okay. Gets a little bit of attack in here. Mech trying to cover. Anti-airs. Looks like Djorca is surviving in the corners at least. Shot off over here. It sends a black boat down here. Really just needs to build a lander. It shouldn't be too hard to get the money for that. You have an econ lead and it's high funds at 50k. Another anti-air. There's a bomber.
Access granted.
For Djorca. A mighty Grimm bomber. Super overkill. Yeah, you could also just build a battleship that would threaten the lab immediately. Oop. Djorca's got a copter into the middle. A big fight over here. Anti-airs are standing strong. We have prime tactics from Lash. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ugh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my gosh. This Djorca lucks out a little bit here. There's nothing to kill this artillery off. If there was, then anti-air could kill this bomber. That might not be so much of a luck thing as planned. It is definitely very scary. I don't like these anti-airs being a little too vulnerable. Oh, there's a lander. I guess it is on a city with the Lash super. Very weird to just build an infantry here. Maybe build a rocket up here. What? There's a big army here, so I would have expected either like a tank or another anti-air or something. Gonna be a fight. Got the haymaker. Yeah. Quite anti-air. It wasn't enough to be on the city. This is where you really wish this was an anti-air and not base. This is a nice wall off by Djorca. This full health anti-air cannot reach the bomber. All it can do is hit a copter. Okay. We're gonna send a copter up top, sure. Definitely a very brutal battle. The fact that Djorca has some air units now that can reach the center helps keep this lab alive. Let's see what this rocket ends up doing. I don't know where the lander moved there. Okay. Well, the anti-air didn't even attack a copter. You can try and run away and get supported by another anti-air, I guess. Are we going to build an artillery? The lander? The anti-air for the lander. Oh, and then a battleship. Okay. Well, the battleship's the big deal. There's no fighter or anything, so we might see Djorca try and break through. Yeah, pretty good. Here comes the air units into the middle. They don't actually reach the lab, but we do have an artillery in range to lock it down. And now there's enough air units that Djorca feels comfortable stepping off of the harbor, and then we have the rocket built. It looks like this base is going to die. The battleship leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the battleship is does have a lockdown on this base. We might see the rocket just take a step forward, try and zone out the battleship. That's not going to work now. Okay. Oh, because they'll just kind of get picked off. Okay, we're going to build a mega tank. A wave of T-copters, okay. Try and go for some of these city captures. Sure. So it's very important to, yeah, do a lot of damage here. Luckily, Grimm's artillery hits really hard. The stream die. A few seconds ago. Okay. Holy pixels, Batman. You believe in Grimm? This is a pretty tough situation. There's a lot of units bearing down on these indirects, but we have a huge air force moving in. So it might be able to stabilize. Ooh, oh my gosh. Unless the air force doesn't want to move in. Gonna try and take out that base instead. I would try and save up here. Okay, we're seeing the prime tactics. This will be a join cap for sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't think we have. We don't have a way of hitting this artillery, so I don't know if the prime tactics, or at least hitting it with anything of decent value. It's going to still be around to interrupt this capture. For now. I don't know why this... Lander should probably go pick up some more anti-airs. It's like the only thing that... air is pretty much the only thing that can be used pretty soon to save this lab. We are going to see the Haymaker. Luckily, this is a lab and not HQ. That base does fall. More air units start flooding into the center. Oof. Okay, that does clear it. And Djorca is starting to take out this base too. If there's only one anti-air over here, it's not going to be enough to break through the mighty Air Force. Okay. Don't know what this lander's doing. It should have been, I mean, it's just kind of gone back and forth without transport and stuff. Do kill off a battlecopter there. Looks like we're trying to, oh, I guess we're trying to make a wall. This battlecopter can't reach this battleship. I mean, there's two more battlecopters. One of them will get taken. Nice block by Djorca on that, the top there. His artillery is actually still kicking. Okay, we got a fighter from Had. Seems good. This base is super dead. There's no super healthy infantry to capture it, but it is indeed out of the picture. This base is being captured, so it's kind of turning into a south versus north situation. This bomber has been doing some serious work. Okay, this lone anti-air is about to get taken out. A helicopter down here. Guess the battleship's being used as part of a wall? I'm not quite sure what this battleship is doing. It looks super dead. Going double battleship? I don't think more battleships is what Lash needs here. A carrier wouldn't be amazing either, though, because of the minimum range problem. You could perhaps go cruiser. I think I'd rather invest in just bringing over more fighters, yeah. It might be too late for the carrier. You do need to be constantly putting infantry on this lab now, because it'll force Aryans to fight there instead, killing your vehicles. There goes the anti-air. It needed more friends. Maybe a carrier would be better. I mean, I think you just need enter into a huge fighter war at this point, which I think Grimm is actually better at. We actually have an opposing infantry now in the center. Yeah, it gets shot. No more full health infantry to go for the lab. These bases... Nothing managed to stand on this base? The bases for Djorca are still up and running, so it's not really south versus north at this point. I think Grimm has this. Battleship is super sad. And something that's really scary for Lash is that if it comes to a fighter war, Grimm's fighters will one-shot Lash's fighters with powers, but the same will not be true in reverse. Oh my gosh, I don't think Lash is going to be able to stop the lab capture from the mech. Yep, that's just GG. Wow. Djorca with the win. Here comes the mech. So, yeah, I think what happened there is Lash kind of won the middle and then didn't capitalize on it and tried to just fight in the corners and kind of did fine until there was a breakthrough in one of them. It was kind of like both players lost on two fronts at the same, or two bases at the same time, but Djorca actually managed to completely take them out. And what happened was Lash was like, oh, I can actually go for the win on this lab, but only did it once the armies were up and running and the bases were falling. So Djorca is able to actually get something into the middle and save it. Just a little bit faster on the capitalization, I think Lash would have won that. GG. I'm impressed that Grimm managed to survive that after the huge win that Lash had in the center. I know, the neutral port. What? Bit of a P. What's this map again? The Kindle mirror. Let me really quickly change this guy's name. The description. One of your friends had this map in fog? All the maps you don't like today? I'm so sorry, Starbright. Such a love-hate with this map. You won both times you played, therefore you like it. That's an understandable bias. You've never seen this map before? Well, you start with a black boat. There's Com Tower Airport kind of down towards the bottom / top for the players, and there's a neutral base. A lot of the fighting will happen around these kind of central shoal lanes and the cities here. Losing an airport and a Com Tower is not uncommon. What's the one standard map in existence that has HQ cheese? There's been more standard maps that have HQ cheese. If I'm guessing what the HQ cheese is, it's going to be the black boat, of course. Go here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Drop off. Is there a way to do it in a better way? Can you sneaky? No, you can't go through bridges. So you'd have to go hop into your black boat, drop off here, be like, oh, I'm going for these cities, ha 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 ha, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You drop off, or you can drop off here, go for their HQ. It's definitely not the only one. There was the tournament one I covered. there's a few. You will not accept these facts. So, was threatening the HQ cheese. Shipbee is threatening the HQ cheese back. Fine. Would be able to cover the HQ. Up for the airport now. Both just kind of chilling in the center. You capture the property by mistake, meant to skip over to the base. Oh no! I even missed it. Yeah, base skips are pretty painful. This one's, I guess, it's not as painful as it could be because most of these captures are going to be handled by these infantry, so you're only really hitting yourself, of course, down by 1 infantry and then just like 4k by missing out on or slowing down these captures. So it's not the end of the world, but ideally, of course, you would have a base skip. So we'll give you a little more money right now. That could factor into some more vehicle buys. Shipbee's going up for this comm tower. It looks like Whoop is also doing so. There's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The copter can't cover this, but the copter can stop this from being captured. So I imagine we're about to see copter and then just a bunch of infantry built, like so. We have copter tank, everyone's favorite combo. Either way, you can get some harassment in. They build an anti-air, the tank gets harassment. They build a tank, the copter gets harassment. They build nothing, then they both get harassment. I mean, there's an artillery on the way, I guess. Yeah, I could see the anti-air opener having some merit because of how forward and open this airport is. Absolutely wild that there wasn't a vehicle built over here. Gives a nice advantage to the penguins here. Bold captures. There's some Kindle tech happening over here. The idea is if wants to interrupt this capture by using this tank, is going to be forced to stay next to the city, and then Shipbee can get either a copter or tank attack from that city for a big swing. And here we get to see that nice copter tank combo. If a tank had been built here, the copter would get an attack. If an anti-air gets built here, the tank gets an attack. It's not as scary as it could be because the anti-air, if it wants to, could attack from this city and just enjoy the firepower increase. And then have the nice repairs going on. Could have avoided that by having the tank attack from the top. I don't know if the anti-air is going to go for that, though. It is. Only ends up doing 7 damage. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, if the tank attacks from up here, then the anti-air doesn't get this attack off. And your tank will probably be completely fine. You'd like to ask a question. He recent video on how to Sammy, he said mechs are like arties. You should hide them behind infantry, but also close enough so they can respond to attacks. I mean, yeah. I think that's a pretty common way of looking at at mechs is that they're kind of like cheaper, slightly worse artillery. Obviously, there's some things that mechs can do that artilleries can't, and vice versa. But that's one way to play with them. Whoop. Ooh. Shipbee coming in with some harassment. That's a little bit daring. Wow. I'm surprised that this anti-air went up here. Because there's some pretty nice surrounds that can happen on this copter. But now that the anti-air is up here, it can't capitalize on any surrounds. So I'm not quite sure what the plan is on this surround for the copter, and why the capture is not happening. I don't understand that either. Oh. I don't think this is even worth it, is it? So... So the missile, a missile costs 12k. A copter costs 9k. So if your missile shoots and kills a copter, you're still down 3k in value. But then you also have to base skip because you have to fire from the base. But it is very fancy. It's gonna be so sad if the copter can get away. I mean, we'll see. It might be worth it for Shipbee to go for the 30% chance to get the copter out, because if infantry kills this, which is about a 30% chance to get the kill with the one comm tower, then the tank can get a one shot on the infantry on the road. Infantry from the city won't get a one-shot. You weren't sure about the decision? I don't think it's... Oh, you dropped the infantry from the black boat. Oh, I understand. I can definitely understand spending a lot of time on that decision. It's quite the choice. I would prefer if the anti-air can just kind of get in range, but if the anti-air can't get in range, then we'll see how it goes. Now, Shipbee can just get an urban blight, which doesn't look possible. Then there would be no chances involved. Okay, looks like we're gonna try and get it. Shipbee did not get the lucky roll. It's arguable whether or not you should go for it. One, two, three, four, five, six. Obviously, your opponent's over-invested in this anyway, so it's... I don't know. It kind of helps justify the missile buy, because now 2 infantry get taken out along with the copter. But of course, if you freed the copter, then it would make the missile buy even worse. Ooh, looks like we're gonna go for Urban Blight here. Okay, or maybe not. I thought the copter was attacking this anti-air specifically for Urban Blight. But I guess... Okay, we're doing Urban Blight at the end of the turn. Okay, that's fine. I mean, that's a pretty valuable Urban Blight. Normally, I would say you use Urban Blight when you have a really good follow-up attack, so you can get a lot of use out of that extra day-to-day increase. But I mean, that hits a lot of stuff. That's like 20,000 damage. About. It copter, tank, interrupts. 3 captures. Another tank. An anti-air hits the black boat. Ton of infantry. I mean, that's a valuable Urban Blight. It is bad from a charge management perspective, but value-wise, it looks really good. And I guess you kind of need the value win after the sink into the missile. It will be, I mean, it'll be really, really good if it's enough to stop some of these captures from going through. If the captures still go through, then it's going to be a lot worse. Whoa. Well, there's only one tank over here. Yeah, that's a problem. Well, now you wish you could Urban Blight again. Yeah, now the charge advantage is definitely in Shipbee's favor. But unit value-wise, I mean, the end of Shipbee's turn, you're still a tiny bit ahead, so that's really good. But they still have a charge available. I'm surprised they join cap this, because they didn't cover it with any vehicles. Tank by. Got pushed back so far here. Really? Well, I would definitely have this infantry finish this guy off. Because otherwise, the next join cap will be like, it's a kill or nothing situation. Oh, it's even worse. Oh, it's even worse. I didn't even see the black boat. I know that. Obviously, you didn't either. But yeah, that's even worse. They just take it. Oh, good night. Back the gun. Even your own city. I like how patient Shipbee is. Shipbee's like, man, my units are kind of beat up, but I've got a lot of pressure on these cities. I'm just going to keep pressure going on these. Shipbee's also now ahead by 3k in income. So the longer the game stalls out, in theory at least, Shipbee should be getting stronger and stronger. I'm not quite sure why this copter is standing on the HQ. I guess it's just daring to surround it again. I mean, you definitely do surround it, right? Gives you a nice target. How do they free it? The only way they're freeing it is with another copter attacking the city? I don't understand why Shipbee put the copter there. It must be some sort of ploy that's good enough to pass me by. Tower looks super weak. Okay. I guess it wasn't a ploy. It was indeed just, I want to put the copter on the HQ, and now it goes die. It goes and dies. Property stall. Okay, we have an interrupt over there. That's a little bit daring. Okay. We want an infantry on this city. I guess fine. There's an artillery guarding it. It's just you really don't like to see your units next to properties against Kindle. There's enough stuff over here that Shipbee dove in to try and get some good attacks. There'd be significant counter damage going on. Okay, so Shipbee just kind of cleaned up these captures, now focusing on this capture. I like that a lot more than sending copters forward onto the HQ and losing them. Shipbee's up by a lot of money, kind of forcing the penguins here to act. And try and take this comm tower, it looks like. And then watch as these forward units get beat up a bit. Try and set up some sort of counterattack. I don't know how good the counterattack will be, because there's quite a few infantry here to try and stand in the way. You're going to lead with an Urban Blight. It makes sense to me. At full charge, could try and go for a high society, but I don't think there's enough targets to make that worthwhile. But one of the things that makes Urban Blight look really appealing is that this comm tower is being captured, and that's something you'd like to delay without having to expose any units. Let's go for a single attack on that medium tank. Seems fine. I will say that I think Shipbee should have a few less vehicles sitting on properties. Possible to... Okay, it wasn't possible to join cap this. That's something you'd like to do when you see the copter just looming over. Try and stop you. The missile is ready with the counterattack. Rocket bias seems a little weird to me. Oh my gosh, double rocket buy? This is mighty daring. We do join here. There's no like copter or anti-air to attack from here. This would be a time where you could just leave the city. We're gonna go for the Urban Blight. Keep the capture going. Looks like this tank is going to be opening her up, though. Killed off the black boat. Well, this is so weird, though. So the Urban Blight's not enough to interrupt this comm tower. Like, this tank hits the artillery, exposes itself to an artillery to do so. The copter has to expose itself to the missile to do this. And leaves the comm tower still getting captured? Falls back everywhere else. The Neo tank's on a city? That's such a weird play. Okay, well now has double comm tower. The missile gets to fire again, so it does pay for itself. You go for the Urban Blight. Even just completely shut down this. I mean, I guess that's even enough to just shut this down. You can just put this tank and try and survive with it. Okay. The tank, the artillery. Okay. Been pretty good. I mean, the missile's a little exposed, but not really, because it does have a medium tank ready to help cover it. The rocket interrupts a capture. Good job, rocket. At this point, Shipbee's out of charge. So, you feel pretty comfortable going for the repairs. Did this tank run away? Did I just miss it running away? Did it join with another tank or something? That's a little bit sketchy. I don't think you needed to join a 9 with a 5. I guess it gave you enough money to go for a 3rd rocket? Well, I thought the rocket buys would be very sketchy, but it seems to be working out for you. Okay, Neotank kills the anti-air. Does get absolutely bopped for that, though. I mean, the artillery fires on it, the medium tank gets to hit it. They give up on the comm tower capture. Oh my gosh. Unhappy Neotank there. Was able to save this city. We're now actually even in income. Indirect hordes have gathered. I'm surprised that these properties managed to stay in Cobalt Ice's control, because indirects were so far back. Ooh, halfway turn. Urban Blight. Okay, there's a little bit of a breakthrough here. Ah! This is not a good copter attack. So what's happening here is that the copter wants to get into the minimum range of the missile, but what it's missing is that there's an opposing Kindle copter that can attack from the city here. So it's dodging one shot by entering into another one. So instead, the copter should just like go somewhere else. Maybe cover against this copter. It also moved into indirect range for no reason. Wait, did the rockets join together over here? Why is there only one rocket? Oh, I see. We moved into indirect range to kill this tank. Oh, okay. So both rockets are joined together, and that gives them money to build the Neo tank. Okay. There's so many joins. Usually that would result in like serious weakening of the front. Because money on the front lines is way better than money on the back lines. But I guess in this case, the back lines and the front lines are like right next to each other. So it's not really that big of a deal. And it does transfer some of the indirects into directs by building it into a Neo tank. There goes that copter. The missile wishes it could join with something. But so far, I mean, it's kind of secured 3 copter kills. It killed this one, killed one over here, and I'm going to give it credit for this one because the copter was trying to dodge the missile's range. So that was a pretty good attack for Cobalt Ice here. Still somehow behind in unit count. Well, probably from all the joining. Also seems still mighty risky. There's no power available for Shipbee, so a breakthrough isn't too likely. Okay. Medium tank gets to attack inside rocket range, but again, there's still this artillery range. So still, this seems fine for Cobalt Ice. The bomber built, okay. The anti-air gets sniped by the rocket. That's a great snipe. Even one-shots. I didn't think that was one-shot. But now that's all the anti-air potential, and now, yeah, copters can just kind of get built over here. Urban Blight will stop this capture. And it even hits the Neo tank, and all of these tanks went on these cities. gotta be watchful of putting your stuff on cities against Kindle. Oh my gosh. The Shipbee has an income 21k, has 2k in the bank. Only netted like 5k that turn because of all the repairs. Trying to go all in on the comm tower, but it's probably too little too late. Okay, we're attacking here. I mean, oof. Copter even gets the interrupt here, and all of these units just get picked off. Got the Copter first strike. You have an Urban Blight and just... I don't know what that Urban Blight... I think that was just a... That might be a GG Urban Blight. There wasn't any real follow-up. I guess there was a strike from the city onto this medium tank. The missile is still pulling its weight. The bomber isn't able to engage. I mean, I was definitely very skeptical of the missile buy, but I guess if you remain this close to your base with the army the whole time, then it can get some work done. So it looks like Shipbee might be trying to all in the HQ. Decided to just trade the bomber for a Neo tank. The missile is going to get yet more value. And again, it's really difficult to all in an HQ against Kindle. Just because Urban Blight is free slowdown, so it doesn't even matter how much you wall. You have to wall for multiple turns instead of just one. And that's a lot of turns to just survive all the sustained attacks. But at this point, Shipbee is just completely all in from getting blown out. Rocket even survives. Untouched. Wow. That was quite the game. That might be the best missile I've ever seen. Yeah, I would also be pretty happy with the Bomber Neo trade. The number one thing I think Shipbee would like to work on is just positioning. There was quite a few times where units were just kind of given away for free. I think what happened is that Shipbee was like, I don't know where to put this unit. I'm just going to put it on a property and stuff like that. And against Kindle, that's just like the way to lose the game. But the Copter's being put on the HQ and getting surrounded and taken out. That's something that's very easy to focus one game on and be like, I'm just going to work really hard on my positioning. You can play Grimm if you want, or the sink or swim method. And then the other thing is that there was definitely some overextending that happened, rather than like just collecting the properties that were kind of free because Swipit was so far back, kind of like pushed forward into the indirect range and stuff like that. But for the most part, Shipbee was doing really well in the early game. And then, I mean, I was so dubious of the missile, but you know, it worked out. It worked out. GG. It makes it interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it was a good game. Everyone makes mistakes. It's not a big deal. This from Quack Cup 2. Yes. Drake. Or not Quack Cup 2. Smacky Cup 2. Okay, we got Shekky. Shiyou. Right, okay, we'll have some Moonwalkers here for both sides. Here comes the Drake mirrors. We've seen this map a couple times because it's a tournament map. There's some timing that can come down around when you want to break this pipe seam and unlock this base to build vehicles, as well as like get this comm tower and the airport and all that stuff. And there are some pluses and minuses to going for the really fast route of getting this artillery first that we see Shekky doing. The minus is that you have very little coverage on your capturing fronts right now. So if your opponent goes for recons, you can kind of get blown out a bit. Just set really far back. For some reason, Shiyou is just like really far behind. Oh, Shiyou is behind in the artillery timing because we had some forward captures done here. So when you're doing like city skips, kind of like what happened here to get this city, instead of going for the nearby cities, went like 1, 2, 3, then start capturing here. It's a trade-off of your early game economy versus your map position. Ooh, even stepped off of the HQ. So assuming that you are always sending infantry towards properties and then capturing those properties in an efficient fashion, it doesn't matter what order you go for the captures for the long-term economy, but for the short term, it does matter quite a bit. So usually, and the reason it doesn't matter for the long term is like, sure, in this case, this city hasn't been captured yet, so you're like going negative and having not captured the closer cities, but you've captured this city way earlier than you would normally, so that it's kind of balancing that off in the long term. Of course, in the short term, it hits really hard because it takes longer for your economy to start coming online. So normally we recommend that your build is capturing inside out. You just capture all of the closest cities and then the next closest cities and so on and so forth, so that you have as much money early on as possible so that you can build vehicles and not die. So if you went to like the extreme in the other way, if you were like, I'm going to capture outside in the long term, you'd make the exact same amount of money, but you would have so little money in the early game that your opponent can just kind of walk over and kill you. Even though you'd have like really great map position, right? You'd be like in the center capturing properties while they're just still on like their second ring of properties to capture and stuff like that. But you do need to actually survive to make it to the late game, so the economy difference doesn't matter. It's a city skip. Go here and then here. Because you can go instead, you can go... Is it not a city skip to go for this? I guess it's not a city skip. I thought there was a way you could get faster. Well, you can ignore me then. Now, I'm not quite sure why she was so far behind artillery timing wise. It might not be a city skip then. I'd have to go back and watch it again. But we're past that stage of the game. Shiyou is a lot faster in the center here. All these properties being captured. It'd be really nice if there was a recon with this, so that it could spot Shecky's slower captures and maybe get some interrupts going. Faster if you're Sturm. There must have been some sort of city skip, because Shiyou was like a whole turn behind for the artillery timing. We can see Fred here. Okay, the pipe seam's been broken. The one thing for Shecky here is you should probably have built a tank. You don't have to have, but you can build a tank the turn before, so that you break the pipe seam and the tank escapes. That way you get your vehicle timing out as fast as possible. Why Fred? It's from my YouTube video explaining the first turn advantage balance. There's Fred right there. He's the starting infantry. And both black boats have joined. Okay. Going for comm tower. Interrupt to make sure that this property stays in Shecky's hands, which makes sense. You see that Shiyou did not go for... Oh, never mind. Shiyou hit this a long time ago with the mech. So, if you have one comm tower, you can go 2 artillery shots and 1 tank shot, or 1 mech shot. Mechs and tanks do the same amount of damage. Spoiler. Okay. This is that classic attack. Tank, infantry, kill the city, the guy in the city, then step on the city. Pickoffs. Just inching forward here. Looks like we're just going to try and deny the city from Shecky. Recon, infantry. Does the tank want to attack? Does go for the attack. Ooh, it does a great attack. That's gonna... So what happened here? Normally you wouldn't usually see like a 9-3. You would expect more like an 8-4 kind of deal. But this tank has chip damage on it from when it attacked the infantry initially. Chip damage means an amount of damage that wasn't enough to lower the number shown on the health. This, like a 9 means... Okay, if you don't see a number, that means the health of the unit ranges from 91 to 100%. If there's a 9, it means it's ranging from 81 to 90%. So the chip just did less than 10% damage to the tank, but it still had that amount of health on it. So now when this full health tank comes in for the swing, it's able to knock it down for more than a total of 60% in combination with the infantry strike. Or more than 60%? Yeah, double tower in the chip. Oh, this is Fred. We can tell it's Fred because they're facing the the opposite way as everyone else, and that just came down to how the colors were chosen on the map. It's not. You will not always see Fred facing the wrong way, but this is that starting infantry. We've seen their journey. It might be ending here. Okay, artillery shoots the infantry right next to Fred. Recon interrupts the capture. Takes out that guy. Oh. Does Fred get to... Fred's gonna live? Wow. Everyone around Fred just vanished. And you'll note again that Shecky's, in this case it's Shecky, making sure that the city's occupied. So the opponent can't strike from it. At least not easily. Now, if Shiyou wants to try and be super tricky, we could see this tank try and attack before the comm tower capture, because you just need to injure this tank. You don't need, or never mind, you don't. Well, I mean, you could do it that way, but ignore what I'm saying, because she was about to get the comm tower, so at 20% bonus firepower, then double tank will always kill this tank. So you don't need to try and go for some really fancy sacrifice. Fred blocking. You have the mech entering into the woods. It's a great place for mechs to hang out. The mech's not going to hang out in the woods. It's going to hang out on the plains. Trying to guard Fred, I guess. I prefer for it to be in the woods so it can't get first struck. I guess it wants to be able to reach down to protect this tank, but see, it does let this recon smack it. Fred, no! Hillary gets knocked all the way down to 1. Okay. Becky's making sure to move all the units down to the front that's fighting. You want as few, in general, not always, but in general, you want as few units not fighting as possible. Because if one person has all their units fighting and the other person has half of their units fighting, then the person with all their units fighting is just going to win that fight. No, Fred. F, yeah. Fred did their best. Okay. This should probably have ran away. Very gutsy to dive in past. Dive into the enemy lines. Because that's an overextension. So if we look at what happens here with this tank. So it has options. It can attack these forward units, or it can go back here and hit this artillery. And when it does this, it hits the artillery down to 5, but it also introduces another unit into the fight. This tank, which is kind of predictable it'll be here, because it's, well, just 6 move away from this base. This tank didn't have a good target before, and now it just gets to hit your tank. So you and it'll probably kill this tank in one shot. So it's kind of trading 5 health on an artillery for a 7 health tank, which is not a good trade. And that's the danger for going for kind of overextending attacks. As even though it can look like a good attack, because it will unlock your opponent's further back units, it can suddenly become net negative a fight. Or unlock's not the right. Activate. There you go. I can activate the opponent's units. Boom. Take out that tank. Doesn't need to take out that tank. A whole bunch of attacks here. The same thing's kind of true, except that for Shecky here, except that Shecky didn't have that many great other targets for these tanks. Other than trying to like hit infantry, but that's not great. We get that Typhoon at the end of the turn. It's not as good as like at the beginning of the turn, but at least it means that when your opponent goes for the Typhoon, they'll just be fighting you at equal HP rather than having an HP advantage. Typhoon, Typhoon. Oof, so many sacrifices. Okay, it did result in killing that tank, but a lot of units had to die. Go for the interrupt over here. That does make some sense. Yeah, you can see that might have been a slight mistake on Shecky's part, because moving this infantry does make it so we lose recon vision of the recon, but it's not a big deal. We can reveal it there and then make sure that the recon kills the artillery before moving the tank. Yeah. So if Shecky had moved the tank to kill off this recon, then we lost vision on this recon, or on this artillery, and the recon wouldn't be able to attack it. The move orders matter a lot in Fog, especially when it's raining and the -1 vision can mess with you significantly. You'll notice that Shecky does not attack in. There's 2 tanks here. They could attack, but that does kind of expose them. We'd rather just keep them back so they're covering stuff and healing up. Because attacking, even though 2 tanks could like charge forward and they could kill off this tank, that does leave them more exposed to the opponent's fire. It would probably be fine in this case because Shecky's like really far ahead. But there's no real reason to risk it. Not in Days of Ruin though. In Days of Ruin you've got baby Fog, so units will just kind of retain whatever vision they ever had during the turn. For the turn. It's baby Fog. Yeah, they just hold your hand. Let's. Shecky doesn't dive in there. It's fine not to dive in. I would probably be fine with Shecky attacking or not attacking. I think Shecky's got a really good advantage here. Maybe you don't want to have these units left next to the city like that. It's not as bad as like fighting Kindle, but still not super great. It will kind of trigger a fight though. For a front switch? Not quite. I had to stick around. I don't think there's a real reason to keep the tank on the city. I'd be more in favor of your opponent backs off over here and you see them kind of extending over here. I'd just go for the full front switch and try and catch this whole army. Definitely agree with Shiyou having backed off. You can see if Shiyou had stuck in that fight, then Shecky would just kind of win it. With the back off, getting closer to these reinforcements, she was able to stay alive on this front. So this is not a great move for Shecky. It's still fine because Shecky's really far ahead, but I guess the way to put this is capturing this city isn't going to win the game, so you don't need to wall for it. If this was like an HQ, then that makes sense to wall with your vehicles. The thing you want to do instead is you just have your vehicles a little farther back, because if your vehicles are like this, you've incentivized your opponent to attack. So they want to attack and interrupt this capture so they don't lose their city, of course. But now they get to both attack and interrupt that city and hit the majority of the army that's also defending the capture. If you just keep the army back, you can then smack whatever goes for the interrupt. Otherwise, you kind of leave yourself way too open. To a plentiful barrage. Very weird that Shiyou attacks from here. I would have expected the infantry to attack from up here so that these two tiles are available for vehicles to kill off this tank. But it looks like Shiyou doesn't want to do that. Just strike once. Keep the anti-airs back, that's okay. Yeah. There was some vehicles left back to try and go for the counterattack, but there was still a lot of openings that Shiyou got to take there. Top is still looking pretty good for Shecky. They do have the ABC coming over here to save the black boat from sinking from fuel loss. It's definitely a little bit iffy to move the fight up this way, like Shecky's doing, because that does further the distance from your own reinforcements that are coming from this direction. I mean, it's a little bit... It's only a little bit closer to the opponent's reinforcements because they do have to wrap around. I imagine it's so that these units can join together with these units eventually. But it should be noted that it's dangerous to just kind of extend the fight a little bit away from your reinforcements like that. Black boat's down to 6 fuel. Remnants, yeah. Remnants have to just kind of back away. So that was a really good engagement for Shiyou. Shecky's still winning in the game, like ahead in every metric except a little bit. He's going to try and move the fight over to this property, which is 100% what Shiyou should do, because this is the most exposed property that it's like... I think it's going to forget. Usually, you would see the wall kind of get gobbled up. In this case, it's just going to get tapped, which does mean that this property is going to go through. Which is another pretty good target on Shecky's part. You just go for the most exposed city. And it's a lot better. It's a lot better to wall with infantry alive, kinda. I'll just wrap up this game. Very nice attacks over here. Should be back. The stream should be back in working order, or so it says. The attacks down here is fine. It does maintain control over the city. The artillery will get some good shots off. But as long as Shecky doesn't lose the city, yeah. Then Shecky's kind of fine with that. And Shecky's going to take this city too. It's just a gradual cleanup. There's a really nice APC block right here. Look at all these. Look at all these vehicles. They can't get past. And Shiyou has resigned. GG. That was a very well done game. It was just a little bit on the overextending that got Shecky in trouble, but overall that worked really well. And Shiyou had some really good recoveries. GG. As the stream's lagging out, I leave you with an apple. Thank you for watching. I will be back on Monday. Thanks for the game.
It's Go7, king of the penguins. Of all the penguins, he is king. It's Go7, king of the penguins. Being king of the penguins, that's his